What is good, everyone? Welcome to the channel. My name is Paul. I make videos about Japanese society, life, and culture from the viewpoint of a long-term foreign resident. Been here for 20 years, and today's topic is myths about Japan that even foreign residents like myself perpetuate. So 5 things I'm going to talk about, and these are things that people believe about Japan but might not actually be true. They might be myths. This is going to be a little bit of a contentious one, I think. I think there's going to be people watching who are going to disagree with what I have to say. And if you do, by all means, head down to the comments. Let us know what you think. What did I get wrong? What counterexamples do you have? Definitely want to listen to what you have to say, because honestly, the comments section is one of the most fun things about doing this channel. I learn a lot from you. I get some different perspectives, and it's all really cool to do this. Without further ado, let's get into the first myth. And that first myth that might surprise you is Japan is resistant to change. You hear this all the time. Oh, the Japanese don't change, don't want to change, can't deal with foreign ideas, etc. I'm just going to come out and say that as a generalization, I don't think this is true. Of course, there are going to be instances where systems, particularly bureaucratic systems, haven't changed or haven't changed very much. There's going to be examples where you can say, Japan has resisted changing in this way. But overall, I don't think it's true. I've been here for 20 years, and this place has changed a lot. The people have changed, the way things are done has changed, the cities have changed a lot, and I just find from my own experience that there's always things that are going on dynamically in this country and this culture. Trends come and go. Japanese were very quick to adopt certain technologies, such as doing everything on their old flip phones back in the days before smartphones. Everything online was done on their phone. So they were ahead of everywhere else in terms of using mobile to do everything online. My students in the university, if they live in an apartment away from their family, they don't have TVs anymore. Like, everything is online for them. And there's just so many other instances, like even the post office, which I used to joke was caught in the Meiji era because they used to not take credit card. Well, they take credit card now, and you fill out all of your international shipping information when you ship a package online. So they've got a full online system now that they insist that you use. So the whole idea Japan is resistant to change, yes, in these certain areas or sectors, but as a generalization, I don't think it stands up. All right, the second myth that even foreign residents in Japan perpetuate about Japan is that Japanese are somehow surprised or shocked that you speak Japanese, or just never expect that you'll speak Japanese. What's my evidence that this is a myth? My daily life. When I interact with Japanese clerks, shopkeepers, you name it, I'm out and about. If I talk to people on the bus, etc., I'm not experiencing shock or surprise at my Japanese. It just ends up being 2 people having a normal conversation in Japanese, and no one bats an eye over the fact that I'm using Japanese. Now, of course, there's going to be certain instances of when this might be the case, so I don't want to call out this channel and say there's anything bad about it. In fact, I love this particular channel and watch quite a bit of the videos on it. But there's a type of video that Oriental Pearl does where she's out kind of catching Japanese by surprise that she speaks Japanese, or she kind of calls them out that, oh, I can totally understand what you were saying about me, kind of thing. And that's interesting, I suppose, but I'm not a real fan of that type of video because it really isn't what I believe is the normal experience of being in Japan and speaking Japanese. What I think is really going on there is she's often filming those videos in touristy areas, and therefore the shopkeepers, etc., that are in that area are 99 times out of 100 dealing with foreign tourists who are only in Japan for a week. And so, yeah, they might be surprised when someone who looks like me suddenly speaks Japanese to them. I do have this experience myself sometimes, like if I'm in Kyoto in a really busy tourist area. Recently went to downtown Yokosuka, which is the city just south of Yokohama, And Yokosuka is where one of the Navy bases is for the US, and most of the sailors and people stationed on the base are there for a deployment or a limited length of time, and so most of them don't speak Japanese, and you wouldn't expect them to. And so I have gotten surprised when I've been down there and started off in Japanese, where the staff has been, oh, you can speak Japanese. But normally, that's just not the case. Now, Oriental Pearl, I love the interviews she does. She's got some really excellent videos. I'm just not fond of the whole surprise over her speaking Japanese. And I think the reason why I don't care for it is because I don't want it to be seen as something that's special or amazing or crazy. Oh my God, this foreigner can actually speak Japanese. I'd rather that the image for people is that it's just usual. Like, why wouldn't foreigners speak Japanese? It should just be seen as a normal thing. Now, speaking of speaking Japanese, probably one of the most common questions I get on the channel is, can you make a video about how you learned Japanese? What was your Japanese language learning journey? And I was thinking that, yes, that video is probably long overdue, but the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to film it, and then I'm going to first release it on my Patreon page. So if you are a member over there or would like to become a member and support the channel directly, my language learning video will be there first. Yes, I will eventually release that onto YouTube, probably in a more shortened version, because I try to keep my YouTube videos under 20 minutes at least. But if you want to get the full video and first access to my Japanese journey, then yeah, go over to my Patreon. I will have that linked in the description below. With that little commercial out of the way, let's go into the third myth that even foreign residents perpetuate about Japan. And that is, we can excuse Japanese people for any kind of discrimination or discriminatory remarks, etc. because Japan is an island nation. They're kind of cut off from the rest of the world and they just don't know any better. It's not their fault. This is a common way that some people defend Japan if there's ever a cry of discrimination or discriminatory behavior. And it's just not true. This is not Sakoku, the Edo era, when Japan was closed to the rest of the world under penalty of death. Japan, as mentioned before, were quick adopters of internet on phones, and it's been an internet country as long as anywhere else. The Japanese media is always concerning itself with foreign affairs and reporting on things abroad. The Japanese are not cut off. This isn't a bygone era. We are in modern Japan, and the Japanese are very savvy about the world. They travel abroad, they consume content and media that helps them learn about the outside. Foreigners like myself have been knocking around Japan for many, many years. And just in honesty, to say that Japanese are just, they don't know any better and they should be forgiven for, being part of an isolated nation, that sounds like discrimination to me. Like, oh, they're just ignorant. Like, we can't expect the Japanese to know anything about the outside world. Like, what? Really? That's really condescending. And as I'm saying right now, I don't think it's true. Okay, the fourth myth about Japan that foreigners and foreign residents perpetuate about this place is that the Japanese are shy. Now, this one might seem like I'm splitting hairs or getting into semantics, but we kind of have to ask ourselves, what do we mean by shy? How would we define shy? And the problem with this is I don't think Japanese are shy because, well, first of all, they don't have some kind of shy DNA, like their genetic makeup just makes them more shy. That's ridiculous. But I would say that Japanese culture and society trains children from a very young age up into adulthood how to act in a Japanese manner. And those Japanese manners to Westerners like myself appear shy when compared to our own cultures. The Japanese, for example, are indirect. The Japanese want more harmony in a conversation and a social setting than Westerners might feel we need. So people use tatemae, or like basically they say what they think will help make smooth social interactions rather than their real opinion. And the Japanese rarely just come out and say, well, my opinion on such and such is this. So Japanese culture is causing Japanese to appear shy to those from other cultures, but I don't think Japanese are shy at all, because once you're part of the in-group, once you're nakama, once you have the friends and the acquaintances and you get together, like, they're no more shy than anyone else, really. The one other thing that makes them appear shy is the fact that there's a greater fear about making mistakes. We see this as English teachers, that our students feel like they can't speak English unless they say it perfectly, because they want to avoid embarrassment of being wrong or having said something incorrect. And as such, it's better to just be quiet rather than to try and speak and make a mistake. Ultimately, though, I would argue that this whole not wanting to make mistakes in English and therefore they don't speak is not shyness. It's that hesitancy to make errors, and therefore, they don't want to feel embarrassed, and I don't interpret that as shyness. Maybe you do, let us know in the comments. But yes, I don't buy that the Japanese are, on average, as a generalization, more shy than anyone else. Okay, the fifth and final myth about Japan that even foreign residents perpetuate about this place is that it's hard to make friends in Japan. This one you'll see a lot in comments, and you hear a lot from people. And I do want to say one quick caveat about this, that there are definitely situations where it might really be difficult. For example, if you find yourself in really deep countryside, most of the population is much older than you, or at a different stage of life, and that most of the people your age are married, etc., when you are not. In certain situations, it could be really difficult to make close friends in Japan. But for the majority of people who live here, they're in a place like Tokyo, Yokohama, Osaka, bigger cities, medium cities, and even smaller cities. It's not hard to make Japanese friends, honestly. It's hard to make Japanese friends the Western way. And what I mean by that is, in America, we tend to make friends by, we strike up a conversation with someone, and, you kind of hit it off, and you become friends, or you meet a mutual friend of a friend that they introduce you, and you talk with them and they're really cool, and so you become friends as well. And it's kind of more of an individual with individual basis in which we make friends. If you try to do that in Japan, yeah, that's going to be really hard. It's hard to make those individual connections. I mentioned before nakama, or inside group. That is the Japanese way to make friends. Japanese people, when they form a group or are in a group, then you make and forge those relationships in the group. You kind of have a good acquaintanceship with everyone, and you make some stronger friendships with some of them, and then you come out of that with friends. This is what the Japanese do throughout their school life. And you can do this too, even if you come over and you're not, an exchange student or something, you're already graduated in the working world, by joining other groups, hobbies, sports, interests, lessons. Join the group that does taiko drumming, or join a basketball group that meets twice a week, etc. You'll become friends with them, and that's how you forge your better friendships with Japanese people the group-oriented way, which is much more the Japanese collectivist nakama, uchi soto, like insider outsider. And it's important to realize that this insider outsider thing is pretty strong, in that if you have a party in America, for instance, you'll invite your friends from the basketball group, and you'll invite your friends from the taiko drumming group, and they'll mix and maybe make some new friendships out of that. Japanese parties, barbecues, etc. are almost never that way. You don't mix the groups. You have your nakama here and your nakama there, and you would not have a barbecue where you invite both. If you did, it would probably start off where everyone stands in a circle and does the jiko shokai, self-introduction, and trying to figure out the hierarchy and the social relationships between them. And then even after that, they're probably going to end up, the basketball group's over in this room and the taiko group's over in this room, and they won't end up really mixing. Oh, there's the city chime. It is 5 o'clock. There's one other thing, just to kind of drive this point home. This is how Japanese society works on so many levels. I mentioned school before. The students in a Japanese school do everything with their class, meaning they have a classroom that they are in every class together with. Their math, their English, their social studies, they all take the same classes together. There's no going out in the hallway and mingling with the other students, and then you have a different group in your math class than you did in your English class. No, the teachers come to your room. You do everything in your classroom, and the teachers come to you. You even eat lunch in that classroom. This also extends out to social culture in Japan. For example, if you think of a Western bar or tavern, it's kind of an open space. You can sit next to people you don't know at the bar. There's lots of mingling possible. You go shoot pool or throw darts, etc. It's very easy to mingle with other people in a bar or pub type setting. Compare that to the Japanese izakaya, where you're at separate tables. You come in with your group, you eat and drink with them. A lot of izakayas are even divided. They have walls or screens in between the tables for privacy. And so there's no mingling in that sense. Probably the most extreme example of this is karaoke. In Japan, you go to karaoke with your friends and you get a private booth that's soundproof from the other booths, and you sing with your group and there's no mingling going on whatsoever. In America, you just sing at the front of a bar full of strangers, and that could immediately be an icebreaker with people talking to you after you went up and sang a song, etc. So there's just so many more examples and instances where we can see that it's about the individual connections that you make in the West, and in Japan it's about the connections you make within your group and the tight bonds you form with that inside group. Okay, as I mentioned, you might disagree with some of these, and if you do, by all means head down to the comments section. If you agree or disagree, either way, I invite you to hit like on this video and subscribe if you haven't already. About 80% of you are not subscribed. And of course, share if you think this content will be of interest to anyone else that you know. I want to thank you so very much for watching this particular video, and I'll catch you in the next one. I drop one every single week, Saturday morning Japan time or Friday evening in US time. And I look forward to seeing you then. Peace.